I'm going to replace my display on my Sony a7s. This will work on Sony a7 and a7r. So a couple of tools you need. I'm going to need a 00 size Phillips screwdriver, tweezers, and possibly a plastic prying tool. I'm going to be following along the iFixit guide to replace the display. They don't go quite into too much detail on how to replace the LCD, so I'm going to try to make this video to kind of fill in the details in that. So first thing I'm going to do is remove the battery. And then I'm going to remove the eyepiece. And then I'm going to remove these 4 screws and this screw for the viewfinder adjustment. Next, I'm going to remove these 4 screws from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to remove the screw that's below this top cover on the side. And then this screw that's on the other side of the camera. I'm keeping all the screws organized for each step of the process so that I know where all the screws go back together. There's going to be another screw that's inside of the battery compartment. It's going to be way in there. Make sure it's the corner that's nearest to the buttons on the back of the camera. Okay, then there's going to be 3 screws behind the screen. So this one, and this one. This viewfinder piece does just come right off. I forgot to remove that in the first few steps. And then there's supposed to be a screw right here that you can remove, but it's missing from my camera for some reason. So once all the screws have been removed, the back is ready to come off. So you can kind of start off on the grip side. And then you're going to want to kind of twist and turn this a certain way to get it around the LCD display. Okay, so the trick to getting this out is trying to kind of get this behind the display and then kind of sliding it out from here. There we go. Okay, so after that's been removed, I'm going to remove this blue ribbon cable. This is for the directional pad. So I'm going to use my tweezers, kind of get under that blue ribbon cable and just kind of ease the way out of this plug-in. And then I'm going to free this circuit board from its retaining clips. This comes out, and this will also come out. Okay, so once you can fold this over from the top, that's when you're ready to move on to the next step. So next I'm going to remove this screw that's right here. And then I'm going to flip this over and remove the screw that's right here. Then from the bottom, I'm going to remove these two screws. Then this whole metal part will be ready to come out. So I'm going to kind of slowly lift it out. And I'm not going to lift it out completely because there is one more ribbon cable to take out. So I have to flip this up, and then there's going to be a ribbon cable right here to remove. Might be easier just with my fingers. And now that's out. So to start taking apart the display, I'm going to remove the two screws that are on the bottom of the LCD panel. Then I'm going to remove the two screws that are on the back of the panel. Right here, right here. So once that's been removed, I'm going to pry up this plastic casing that's around the display. So this part might be more difficult for you because of the adhesive that's on the display. Okay, so once the panel has been removed. There's going to be some more ribbon cables that are underneath. So there's one over here, and I'm just going to kind of put my finger on here and try to grab this out and remove it carefully. Might want to use the tweezers. And at this point, I'm gonna try my options at testing out the new display, new board, and the new ribbon cable. So this step might not be necessary for you if you're just going to replace the display. Alright, so this is my old display, and this will just pop out of this plastic bezel. Might be a lot harder for you if you've never replaced it. The adhesive might kind of be stuck on, so you're going to want to try using the prying tool to take it off. Next, I'm going to disconnect the ribbon cables from the display. So one is, I believe this one is for power and this one is for the video output. And then this board will pry right off. It uses some adhesive. You might want to use the prying tool for yours, but I know mine is pretty easy to take off because I've done this before. So first I'm going to try to test out the new LCD with the old board. So this will flip over, and I'm going to go ahead and plug in the cables. Here, I'm going to try to do it like this first. So once I kind of have it in a little bit, okay, this makes it easy. So I'm just going to push on the plastic piece on both sides. And then I'm going to get the power cable in. So I'm going to test out the new ribbon cable by specifically plugging it into this direction. So I'm just trying this at my own risk, so let's see if this will work. So it is working with just the new LCD display and the new ribbon cable. So I don't actually need this new board. So I'm going to set that aside and sell that on my own later on. Go ahead and turn off the camera, take the battery back out. Going to remove the ribbon from the camera. Go ahead and also remove it from the board. Next, I'm going to go ahead and take apart this structure. I have to get this ribbon cable out. So the first step to do that is to kind of get this, there's like a metal backing on the LCD. And then there's also a few other parts I have to remove. So if you see here, there's some metal tabs right here that have to be bent back so that there's a piece behind there that has to be removed. You know what, I'm going to use this tool. It's a little bit of a flatter blade, and I'm going to use that to pry those two metal tabs up. And now that is out. I can also remove this plastic piece from behind the display. And then this ribbon cable, I'm going to kind of fish this out. I'm going to fish the cable out from the other side. So the reason I'm going to replace this cable is because it's got some wear on this black part. And I believe I may have accidentally damaged the contacts on here, so I'm going to go ahead and replace this cable. One thing I forgot to do is put this metal plate on the back on, so I'm going to go ahead and slide it back on. Then I'm going to get this ribbon cable through the hole. And then snap it back on the top. So now that's on. I'm going to get the screws in to get this held in place. Alright, so now that this LCD is going to be ready to go back in, I'm going to add a new piece of adhesive to the board. I'm just using double-sided tape. I'm going to try to bend this power cable so it doesn't get in the way during the install. Okay. Alright, I'm going to apply some adhesive onto the display, the back of the display, so that it's going to stick onto the bezel. So I'm just going to use double-sided tape for this, but that's probably not the best thing to use. There's probably something better to use. Okay, now I'm going to plug in the LCD. Okay, now that's plugged in. I want to make sure, absolutely make sure that it's plugged in well. I am going to get this LCD in now. So it's going to pop right into the plastic bezel. Going to get all the edges pushed down well. And then bend these clips back. I'm just going to use my fingernail to do that. And then let's use this plastic tool to get it all the way. Now back to installing this back in. First, I'm going to plug in the LCD cable back into the motherboard. I'm going to carefully put this back into place. And make sure to flip this circuit board back up. I'm going to align the bottom. Make sure the side is aligned. I'm going to keep an eye on this board, make sure it's not going to get stuck. I'm going to look on this side to make sure. And it looks like that's it. Give it a push just to make sure it's in well. I'll give it one more test just to make sure. Awesome. Next, I'm just going to follow the iFixit directions back in reverse. So first I'm going to get these two bottom screws back in. Then I'm going to get this side screw back in. And then I'm going to get the screw in this corner back in. Okay, now I can get this circuit board snapped back in. So I'm going to get this blue cable out of the way. And then this board can go back in. There we go. And then this side one can also go back in. So it kind of just slots into this hole on the side and then pushes down. There we go. And then this blue cable can go right back in. Just going to push it in with my finger. Make sure that's in all the way. Just going to turn the camera back on just to make sure this dial is going to be working. Okay, works. Okay. All right, next I can put the front plate back on. There we go. That's how to do it. Okay, I'm gonna push the left side in first and get the right side in, and that's it. So I'm supposed to get this screw back in right here, but I'm missing that one, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the screws that are behind the display. So 1, 2, and 3. All right, next I'm gonna put the screw back in to the battery compartment. Okay, up next, the screw next to the record button. And then the screw that's behind the mic and headphone door. The 4 screws on the bottom of the camera. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now make sure not to over tighten the screws. You just kind of want them snug. So once it's finger tight, you can just have a good hold on it. Just turn it just a little bit just to snug it up. Alright, my camera ended the recording, so I'm going to restart. But I got these 4 screws back in. And then I put the cover back on. Put the adjustment knob screw back in, along with the 4 viewfinder cover screws. Finally, I can put the viewfinder eyepiece back on. Battery back in. And one final time, making sure everything works. Great. So I hope that was helpful in showing you how to replace the display along with the board if you have a new one, and especially the ribbon cable. So if you're not comfortable with opening up electronics, then I would not recommend doing this. So do this at your own risk.